It's midnight and you're tuned into Nightline with me, Muhammed Hamdan. The top stories. PM called on Malaysians to put aside ego and self-interests. And mask mandate on public transportation, health facilities to end next week. Good morning. Aidil-Adha was celebrated moderately throughout the country on Thursday, with Muslims, including leaders and heads of state, performing the Aidil-Adha prayers. In conjunction with the auspicious occasion, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim called on Malaysians to set aside ego and the interests of relatives and family for the sake of building a strong nation, regardless of race, especially in helping the weak and marginalized. In his social media post, citing the story of the sacrifice of Prophet Ibrahim, his wife Hajjah and his son Prophet Ismail in showing obedience to Allah, Datuk Seri Anwar said it forms the basis of confidence in upholding trust and fulfilling the aspirations of the nation's future generation. He added this is the determination and promise, and together united, moving forward towards a nation that is developed, prosperous and compassionate to its people. The Prime Minister also wished Malaysians who are performing the Hajj in the Holy Land a blessed Hajj and a safe journey back home. Datuk Seri Anwar said on the 10th of Zulhijjah every year, Muslims all over the world perform sacrificial worship in commemoration of the holy sacrifice of Prophet Ibrahim and his family.
Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik.
The Prime Minister noted that amid scarcity in a dry and uninhabited land, it is still fertile, showered in faith and love, and the sincerity of the soul as commanded by the Almighty. And it was such sacrifice that is the basis of a holy struggle to restore the dignity of the people and guarantee justice for all. And earlier in the morning, together with thousands of congregants, Datuk Seri Anwar performed the Aidil-Adha prayers at the Putra Mosque in Putrajaya. This is his first Aidil-Adha prayers with the people of Putrajaya since he took over the helm of the country's administration in November last year. Datuk Seri Anwar was accompanied by his wife, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Ismail. He was welcomed by Department of Islamic Development Malaysia, JAKIM Director General, Datuk Hakimah Muhammad Yusof. Also present were Home Minister Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail and Chief Secretary to the Government, Tan Sri Muhammad Zuki Ali. He also joined in the Takbir Raya ceremony with 20,000 congregants before performing the Aidil-Adha prayers led by the Grand Imam of the Putra Mosque, Salahuddin Ghazali. The Prime Minister listened to the Aidil-Adha sermon titled The Valley of Sacrifice, delivered by Salahuddin. Datuk Seri Anwar also took the opportunity to greet congregants after the sermon. And across the country, Muslims celebrated Aidil-Adha with full gratitude. The faithful gathered in mosques and surau for prayers, followed by the slaughtering of cows and goats. It was a lively festive atmosphere as Muslims filled mosques as early as 7 a.m. to perform the Aidil-Adha prayers. In Kelantan, Tengku Mahkota Kelantan, Dr. Tengku Muhammad Faiz Petra Sultan Ismail Petra performed the Aidil-Adha prayers with over 3,000 congregants at the Masjid Muhammad in Kota Baru. Also present were Kelantan Menteri Besar Datuk Ahmad Yaakob and State Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Zaki Harun. Over in Melaka, Yang di-Pertua Negeri Tun Muhammad Ali Rustam joined the congregation for the Aidil-Adha prayers at Masjid Al-Azim Bukit Pala. He was accompanied by Melaka Chief Minister Datuk Seri Abdul Rauf Yusof, State Secretary Datuk Zaidi Johari and Mufti Datuk Abdul Halim Tawil, as well as 3,000 congregants. In Perak, Sultan of Perak Sultan Nazrin Shah performed Aidil-Adha prayers with about 1,000 congregants at Masjid Sultan Azlan Shah in Ipoh. Also present was Raja Permaisuri Perak, Tuanku Zara Salim. After the prayers, the ruler then attended the Aidil-Adha celebration at Dewan Tan Sri Ghazali Jawi in Sekolah Izzuddin Shah. In Pulau Pinang, Yang di-Pertua Negeri Tun Ahmad Fuzi Abdul Razak performed the Aidil Adha prayers together with about 4,000 Muslims at the State Mosque in Georgetown. 9 cows were also sacrificed at the mosque parking area to be distributed to eligible recipients and poor. In the land of the Hornbills, Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg performed Aidil Adha prayers with over 5,000 congregants at Masjid Jami' Negeri Sarawak in Petrajaya, Kuching. 3 cows were also sacrificed and were distributed to 207 groups of eligible recipients and poor around Kuching. In the land below the wind, Sabah Chief Minister Datuk Sri Haji Noor performed Aidil Adha prayers with about 1,000 congregants at Masjid Haji Noor Serusup in Tuaran, and 8 cows were sacrificed. Moving on, masks will no longer be compulsory on public transport, including e-hailing, and at healthcare facilities from July 5th, which is Wednesday next week. Health Minister Zaliha Mustafa, however, said they remain mandatory for COVID-19 positive patients and health workers following infection control procedures in dealing with patients. In a statement on Thursday, Zaliha said the relaxed measures are aligned with the World Health Organization (WHO) declaring in May that COVID-19 was no longer a public health emergency of international concern, along with declining cases in Malaysia. Over the last 5 weeks, the number of new COVID-19 cases has shown a decrease of 53.5%, and deaths related to COVID-19 have decreased by 35.3%. This follows the government's achievements in managing the COVID-19 pandemic and the successful containment of infection while restoring the country's health services. The last mask rule update was in September 2022, which at the time it was decided that face masks were no longer compulsory indoors, except for when using public transport and e-hailing. In addition, the quarantine period for COVID-19 positive individuals will be shortened from 7 days to 5 days, also effective this Wednesday. As always, the announcement comes with an encouragement from the Health Ministry to continue to wear masks in crowded areas, especially if you are a high-risk individual. Following the Health Minister's announcement, our reporter Hakim Azman spoke to members of the public, with many of them saying that they prefer to keep their face masks on, despite the relaxation of the regulation next week.
And if there's a lot of people, then I might wear a mask.
Even though it is no longer mandatory?
Yeah, because just to be careful, you know?
Yes, I will.
Why?
Because I think face mask is part of my life really, and also because hospitals-wise they have a lot of viruses coming in, so I feel like wearing mask is still important.
I'm okay with it, but if that person is sneezing or coughing very loudly, then I might still leave him far a little bit, yeah, because instead of COVID, there's still a lot of other diseases like influenza and other stuff, so I myself would still wear a face mask when there's a lot of people.
Meanwhile, for e-hailing drivers, they insisted on their customers wearing face masks during rides to protect both the driver and the passengers.
For me, no. Because just to protect ourselves from each other, because we are strangers, we don't know each other.
I would say consider okay lah, because nowadays things have been improving and it's already subsided, right? Unless a customer or passenger not feeling well, then I prefer them to actually put on a mask.
Some members of the public viewed the announcement positively, particularly those who have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
Yes, actually it's okay because I'm fully vaccinated and I also have my booster, so it's fine. And actually, wearing mask is, for me, it's not necessary because it will like distraction, like you breathe like that.
Now, starting next year, Malaysians will have to obtain an online document known as European Travel Information and Authorization System, ETIAS, before entering any of the European Union or Schengen member countries. The authorization will be linked to the traveller's passport, where it will be valid for 3 years or until the passport's expiry date, in which a new ETIAS must be obtained. According to the EU's official ETIAS website, with an ETIAS, Malaysians can stay in Europe for a maximum of 90 days within a 180-day period. It added it does not guarantee entry upon arrival. However, a border guard will ask to check your passport and other documents at the same time to verify that you meet the entry conditions. The application, which must be done online, will cost 36 ringgit for all applicants between the ages of 18 and 70, while minors and applicants over 70 years old will receive an ETIAS free of charge. The EU said that most applications for the authorization will be processed within minutes, but some may take up to 4 days for a decision. Therefore, the EU advised travellers to apply for an ETIAS travel authorization well in advance of any planned journey. Currently, Malaysia is one of 63 nations that are visa exempt to enter most European countries. When we return, panic amid Japan's radioactive water dump. Stay with us. Foreign front, Muslims across the world were also celebrating Aidil-Adha on Thursday, as the celebration is one of the most important Islamic festivals in the Muslim calendar. Known as the Feast of Sacrifice, Aidil-Adha coincides with the final rites of the Hajj, the annual Islamic pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. In Indonesia, devotees in Depok City flocked to mosques early on Thursday morning to offer prayers before performing ritual animal slaughters and shared the meat with the poor. This year, the Indonesian government has declared 2 extra days of Eid holiday, bringing the total to 5, including the weekend. Muslims in Iran also gathered for prayers early in the morning to mark the festival of Aidil-Adha. In the province of Tehran, locals were seen buying and selling sheep to be slaughtered to commemorate the willingness of Prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his son. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, cattle were seen butchered and their meat distributed to the needy on the streets as the feast sees the sacrifice of livestock animals, with shares of meat being distributed into 3, 1 for family, 1 for friends and relatives, and a third for the poor. Over in China's western province of Xinjiang, Muslims were seen flocking to bustling bazaar in Kashgar city as they look to purchase a range of goods for the Kurban festival. The bazaar is popular for its diversified variety of sheep, including those from Xinjiang, as well as sheep from other areas of China, including the central Henan province and Shandong province in the east. While these nations observed Aidil-Adha on Thursday, many other countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, Afghanistan and Nigeria celebrated the holiday on Wednesday. This as it varies according to moon sightings in different parts of the world. Officials from a number of countries, including many in the Middle East, on Thursday have condemned the desecration of the Holy Quran by Iraqi living in Sweden, warning such acts would inflame the feelings of Muslims around the world. Iran has called the burning provocative, ill-considered and unacceptable, saying the country does not tolerate such an insult and strongly condemns it. It added the Swedish government is expected to seriously consider the principle of responsibility and accountability in this regard, while preventing the repetition of insulting the holy sanctities. The Al-Quran burning was also condemned by Morocco, which recalled its ambassador to Stockholm for an indefinite period. The kingdom's foreign ministry has called on Sweden's charge d'affaires in Rabat and expressed its strong condemnation of this attack and its rejection of this unacceptable act. Under a heavy police presence on Wednesday, the 37-year-old Iraqi who fled to Sweden several years ago stomped on the Al-Quran before setting several pages alight in front of Stockholm's largest mosque. It was understood that authorities in the Swedish capital had granted him a permit for the protest in line with free speech protections, but claimed later that they had opened an investigation into the man over agitation. Meanwhile, Malaysia has strongly condemned Swedish authorities for granting approval for an Iraqi living in Sweden to burn a copy of the Quran outside Stockholm's main mosque on Wednesday. Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Zamri Abdul Kadir said the desecration of the holy book, which Muslims around the world are celebrating Eid al-Adha, is very offensive to Muslims worldwide. In his social media post on Thursday, he stressed that such actions violate the universal principle and respect and understanding towards all religions and their holy scriptures. The incident has sparked international outrage, with the US, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iraq and Jordan, among other countries, which have condemned it. Japan is due to dump more than 1 million tons of treated radioactive water from a wrecked nuclear power plant into the sea, prompting South Korean shoppers to snap up sea salt and other items as worry grows about their safety. It is reported that the release of the water from huge storage tanks into the Pacific is expected soon, though no date has been set. Japan, however, has since given repeated assurances that the water is safe, saying it has been filtered to remove most isotopes, though it does not contain traces of tritium, an isotope of hydrogen hard to separate from water. The water was mainly used to cool damaged reactors at the Fukushima power plant north of Tokyo after it was hit by an earthquake and tsunami in 2011. The rush to stock up contributed to a nearly 27% rise in the price of salt in South Korea in June, though officials noted that the weather and lower production were also to blame for the increase. New Zealand on Saturday will become the first country to ban thin plastic bags, straws and silverware as the government expands their campaign against single-use plastics, which started in 2019. According to Associate Environment Minister Rachel Brooking, New Zealand produces too much plastic waste, and the 2019 ban had prevented the use of over 1 billion plastic bags in the country. She also said that the latest ban will reduce the use of 150 million plastic bags per year, as most customers are now expected to bring their own reusable tote bags to stores. Additionally, penalties could be imposed on businesses if they are found in violation of new rules concerning the plastic ban. The ban comes after the environmental policies of New Zealand come under criticism since the then Jacinda Ardern government declared a climate emergency in 2020. French President Emmanuel Macron battled to contain a mounting crisis on Thursday after riots spread across France overnight, set off by the deadly police shooting of teenager Nahel M during a traffic stop in Paris. Macron, at the start of the crisis meeting with senior ministers, said the violence that spread throughout France for a second day following the shooting was unjustifiable. However, he also added that the shooting itself was inexcusable. The fatal shooting has fed into long-standing complaints of police violence from within the low-income, racially mixed suburbs that ring major cities in France. While the country is now mobilizing massive police forces to boost security, deploying as many as 40,000 police officers to deal with the continuing riots. The riots are deeply troubling for Macron, who had been looking to move past a half year of sometimes violent protests over his controversial pension reform. sports football, the 2023 AFC Under-17 Asian Cup Thailand. Japan booked a place in the final after cruising to a 3-0 victory over Iran in Pathum Thani on Thursday. At the Thammasat Stadium, Ryunosuke Yada opened the scoring for Japan in the 9th minute before Kohei Mochizuki doubled the advantage 29 minutes later. Ryunosuke Sato then put the result beyond doubt after firing Japan's third in the 74th minute. Japan will next face either Korea Republic or Uzbekistan on Sunday at the Pathum Thani Stadium. And on to tennis, the Eastbourne International. China's Zhang Zhizhen came back from a set down to beat USA's Maxime Cressy on Wednesday. Cressy took the first set 6-3 in 36 minutes, but Zhang managed to fight back and save himself to win the match 2-1, 6-3, 7-5, 6-4. He will face 4th seed Francisco Cerundolo in the quarterfinals on Thursday. Also through to the next round was 2nd seed Tommy Paul, who beat Sebastian Baez in straight sets 6-1, 7-6, 7. The world number 17 won the first set pretty comfortably 6-1 in 27 minutes. But that wasn't the case in the second, as Baez put up a fight and forced a tie-break. Eventually, however, Paul won the set and booked his spot in the quarterfinals, where he will face fellow countryman J.J. Wolf. Police to launch massive crackdown on traffic offenders. The details after this short break. In a bid to prevent traffic offences from getting out of control, the authorities are not compromising with traffic offenders. In the federal capital, motorists can expect a massive traffic crackdown by the authorities from July 1st. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Shuhaili Muhammad Zin said the operation will involve about 1,000 officers and police personnel. He said among the offences which the enforcement personnel will look out for are illegal parking, obstruction of traffic, running red lights, illegal number plates, illegal tinting, and various offences related to motorcycles. He said errant road users would also be educated on the dangers of not obeying traffic rules under OBDIDE throughout the undertaking. The crackdown will be jointly conducted with the Road Transport Department RTD, Kuala Lumpur City Hall, and the Department of Environment DOE. The Kuala Lumpur Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department will jointly take action on drug-related cases throughout the operation. Police will also do background checks for arrest warrants and criminal records, detect stolen vehicles, and take action against workshops which carry out illegal modifications. The nature of this operation is to discipline, educate, and advise road users to obey all traffic rules as well as the rules of other enforcement agencies involved. For the record, 895 investigation papers for traffic offences were initiated from January to May this year, with the highest number of offences being obstruction of traffic, including illegal parking at 311 cases, followed by 180 cases of illegal racing and 167 cases of running red lights. And lastly, in Negeri Sembilan, the congregation performing Aidil-Adha prayers at the Mahsan Mosque in Bahau had a rude shock when a car came crashing into the mosque's fence wall. Jempol District Police Chief Superintendent Hu Chang-hook said the accident occurred at about 8:40 a.m. He added that the car, driven by a man in his 50s, was involved in an accident involving a car driven by an 18-year-old teenager before hitting the mosque's fence. According to initial investigations, the teenager was driving alone to work at Taman Industri Bahau. Both drivers escaped unhurt. The case is being investigated under Rule 10 of the Road Traffic Rules 1959. Take a look at the auspicious celebrations of Aidil-Adha across the nation. With that, I'm Muhammed. I'm Hamdan. Thank you for watching and have a great day ahead.